Like financial debt is spiritual debt. It is, period. Like, and if you don't make the amends for that stuff, it will always be a black cloud over the top of you. Now, I am by no means a financial guru or a fucking entrepreneur, money-making motherfucker. I don't have any answers as far as money goes. I work for my money, right?
Yeah.
So before I worked for my money, I sold dope or stole for my money or whatever. But I racked up quite the fucking debt.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah, me too.
I came up in the oil field where I was making great money, you know, just an insane amount of money, working 6-7 months a year. I was making, you know, several thousands of dollars every 2 weeks, and just fucking, I didn't really have, because I started doing drugs so young, I didn't really use credit or anything until I started in that industry, right? And so everything was kind of bought and sold with cash until I started in the oil field. And then I started learning about banks, and I started doing that kind of shit. And so I used my lack of credit to get the truck, to get the Denali. You know, I had a fucking GMC Denali. I had a nice Ram 1500. Both got repoed eventually.
Of course.
Right? Fucking every lease that I had signed for a place that I lived, I'd either skip out on or disappear on or go to jail on, right? And those were all things that went to the credit union. Cell phones, payday loans. And then on top of that, once I learned about how to use doctors with my oil field insurance, right? Hospitals, doctor's visits, unpaid medical debt.
Sure.
So all that stuff acquired over the course of those years, right? And it ended up being quite a bit of money.
It sounds quite a bit of money.
And
yeah.
So I went through the process, and what happened was I got out of jail that last time, and I went to work for this guy, and I was making $9 an hour pushing a broom and learning what ended up being my career now, which is in construction. You know, I'm a professional construction guy, you could call me.
Is that on your business card?
Yeah, I do professional construction, and
PCG.
Yeah, and so like I went and got a bank account. Okay, and people that like when I got out of jail and I left the oil field and I got really sick into my disease, I fell off the grid. Like, no more bank accounts, no more cell phones, no more of that shit, you know, just living off of cash and donations from churches and borrowing money from family and that lifestyle, you know. And so I ended up getting a bank account for the first time in several years. Well, as soon as I got a bank account, the creditors found me.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there he is, right? And so the first time they garnished my check on a $9 an hour check, I shit my pants. And so I had to get honest about where I was at, and I had to go through and I had to do all the steps leading up to a bankruptcy. And so what that was I had to look at everything I owed, and with the cars and the medical and everything, it was $96,000, and I was 33 years old.
That's a chunk.
It seemed like it.
It is.
It
still is.
And so I filed bankruptcy, and I paid with my taxes, and then I found a company that would finance my bankruptcy lawyer. And so I had to make payments on that, and then I had to make payments on some other stuff that I couldn't file on that bankruptcy, right? But it was very humbling, because what came out of that was like, there's a financial guru out there. His name's Dave Ramsey, and we took his course on budgeting. Right. On budgeting, you know, me and Avery took his course on how to budget, how to plan, how to you know, use your money for other stuff, however little, how to save, you know, what money does in the community, how it's earned, because none of that stuff I was ever taught. I was never taught anything about money or finances, you know. It was always kind of like you work paycheck to paycheck. And so by going through the motions of that financial amends, I was able to learn how money works,
right?
How finances work, how you can use them to become more spiritually sound, how to become more free, how to look the world a little bit squarer in the eye. And what's come out of that is like eventually I became the guy with extra money, zero debt, extra money, all that stuff, because I never want to go back to that place, right? But I had to face it. Like I said, financial debt is spiritual debt.
Yeah, well, it's funny because like as you talk about it and you talk about what you were able to learn through that process, it makes me realize just how sort of childlike we can be in the first little bit of our recovery, right? Like how we're learning new things. Like we're learning how to deal with things without the negative behavior or the survival patterns that we picked up. How to deal with all these things in a new way. I mean, for me, it was like how to interact with people socially. Like I didn't know how to do any of that without drinking, and there was definitely like I didn't know how to save money.
No.
I didn't know how to like responsibly, take care of that debt or manage debt or any of that stuff. And so it does just really sort of, it gives us more reasons to do the things that we do. Like that's the reason why we do these amends, is because we need to learn how to own our shit.
Yeah.
Like, and just our shit, right? Like
Just our shit.
That's the whole goal, is like you hear it said all the time, like we need to clean up our side of the street, And there's been plenty of amends where it's like, I've had to think like, well, wait a minute, like I'm not completely in the wrong here. Like that person did this to me, which is why I did this, or whatever, like however you want to justify it, right? And that's why we go through this process of like, the first thing I need to do is just make a list.
Make a list.
That's all I need to do. I'm just make a list
Trust
of all
yourself.
those people I've wronged, and
Trust yourself.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but my sponsor, said you make 3 columns, right?
Okay.
You make a list of the people that you've hurt, that you're willing to make amends to right away, people that you might be willing to make amends to, and then people that you're not willing to make amends to.
Okay.
And then you keep revisiting that, right? And the goal is to hopefully have all those people, in the willing to make amends
Column
to.
A.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay.